Hey everybody, welcome back. I've got a bit of an update for you, and this is going to be based on the stream that I just did recently, where I talked about overclocking and water cooling my Raspberry Pi 3. I've only had it about 2 days, maybe 3 days, and already I am really liking this thing. I can install, I forget the exact name of the system, but it runs Kodi. It's a nice little media entertainment center type of rig. And my initial purpose in this is going to be as a security system for the bedroom where all of my expensive equipment is going to be while we're doing our kitchen remodel. And when it's done, it will actually end up being a media center piece. Now, it may travel between home and the office. And when I'm done, I would eventually like to give this away in a contest. Now, I know I mentioned a couple details, such as hitting 500 subscribers. I'm not going to say that that's the final thing quite yet. I want to make sure that I have a chance to actually complete this before we get to the point of actually saying that the contest can go through, just in case anything happens. Maybe my Pi breaks. Maybe I have more complications and it sets me back a couple weeks. We'll have to see. So why do I bring you back to Tinkercad? Well, because of this. I basically took 7 hours today, and I guess it didn't really need to take 7 hours, but I kept getting pulled away with customers, to build and mock up, in general, all of the pieces that would be used in this build, minus the frame, in Tinkercad, and do them as close to scale as possible. They may not be exact, and like you see how the fans have their holes that are correct, so does the Raspberry Pi 3 board. It's got the holes and they're aligned right. Everything else is as close to scale as I could get it with the dimensions that I could find on the spec sheets for each piece. Obviously this board has holes, but I don't have them on this particular one. So I'm just basically setting up a general layout of where I want things to be. So let me go through the parts here. We have a copper core radiator, which takes dual 50 millimeter fans. That would be these two guys. He is right about 5 inches long, a little over 1.5 inches tall, and about 2 inches wide. I figure that's probably plenty. I'm not trying to make this thing stupid huge. I would like it to be a fairly small rig. That's kind of the idea here. I don't want to go oversized with much of any of this, just what I need, have a nice layout, and be done. Here we have a plexi reservoir, which obviously doesn't have the metal cap on the top, but you can tell here it's currently solid with a hole cut out in the bottom. So at least you can see that you get the idea of the shape. This is the bottom piece, and the only thing I don't have in here other than the tubes is the ceramic fan that goes underneath. That will also go on here, and I'll have to figure out a way to mount that against the plexi here. I haven't really thought that one through quite yet, but I'll look back at the pictures and see if there's a good way to mount it. Moving on, we have the water blocks, and these are, I'm going to need 4 of these. So if you look here on Raspberry Pi, you have the CPU, I'm not sure what that is, Wi-Fi maybe, and then underneath is one more. This is the micro SD card, and I'm not worried about cooling it because I can't actually put a block on it because it sits inside of a tray. So the block actually doesn't make direct connection with the card. And if it could, there'd be nothing to hold the card in place. And it would slip, you have to be able to remove it. So that's not practical. No other component on here needs cooled, so we don't have to worry about that. Let me set that back down to 0 real quick. Here we have the compression fittings. They're going to be for the 3/8 hose. No, I'm sorry, 5/8 hose, which is going to come out of this block right here, which I don't have the holes cut inside for that one. And out of here, we'll go into these guys that split out. So this is a breakout box, basically. Liquid comes in one side here, and then goes out all 5 of these ports. And obviously with the second one, after you've gone through all your blocks, they come back into these small ports, back out this hose and back into the block. Now before, when I get the direction of all this, it's going to go from reservoir to breakout to blocks, or to blocks to radiator back into the reservoir. Or, and I'm thinking this might be a little more beneficial, I'll have to think on how I want to do this, is to come from reservoir to the radiator, have the radiator cool it down just before it gets to the blocks, go through all the blocks that it needs to, would come out of here into a breakout, out the little tubes into the blocks, so that the first thing, as soon as it's as cool as it can get, is coming out into the blocks that sit on the chips. From there, it goes back in here, back out the tube, and then back into the reservoir. Now, I'm not sure which way I want to do it. I can hook it up both ways and run some overclocking and some stress tests and see which way works better. I'm not really sure. I'm sure some of you are probably going to want to tell me. We have the two fans that sit directly on top of this radiator here. I will show you what that looks like real quick. In general, so they'll sit, they're a little bit off. It's just because of my grid snap. You can pretty much ignore that. Okay, so basically they'll sit right on top, just like that. The display, which is a 5-inch 800 by 480 touchscreen display, and I don't have it sitting here, but on this side will be HDMI and micro USB over here. Now there is another component that's not sitting here as I'm working on figuring out exactly how I'm going to do this, and that is a 5 volt to 12 volt power boost board. That'll convert a 5 volt source into 12 volts so I can power 12 volt accessories, which one being the display. So the display is one, and the fans, they were going to be 12 volt, but I ended up finding some ball bearing 50 millimeter fans that ran on 5 volt, which is great because I already have a 3 amp power supply that I use for Raspberry Pi, and I can pretty much get a slightly stronger one that will allow me to also break out and use some of that additional available current for use in the fans. They aren't going to take a whole lot, but I wanted to make as few adapters, and I may have to make a custom board for the power. We'll have to see how that turns out. But with all this, the idea behind this is that I now need to make, well, place in 3D space, I guess you could say, all of my components where I think I would like them, and then figure out a way to make, likely out of acrylic. I wanted to get some laser cut acrylic and use that to mount all of the pieces to. So I need to place them in 3D space and then form some kind of acrylic bent or simply cut and then make a way so I can screw up the two pieces together or something as the final form and have everything mount to that. I'm likely not going to 3D print that, even just as a temporary piece that I can use to test with, because that's going to be a lot of material, a lot of time. It takes more planning. It may not be as sturdy and as stable as I would like it to be, and I need the parts here in my hand in order to get 100% accurate measurements. So, with that being said, if any of you feel that you would like to help out with the project, let me know what you're thinking, and we can collaborate a little bit. I would actually like a couple suggestions on maybe what way you think would work best to set the layout. I do kind of want to have the tubes, and they're going to be filled with bright green. It's not UV, so I'm not worried about putting UV lighting around here to light anything up. It's not going to do that. But I might put like a couple lights, say, behind the display or something like that, just to kind of give it a background glow. But I'm not doing crazy lighting, and I'm not doing UV lighting. So if you have an idea of how to lay this thing out, that would be awesome. Give me some suggestions, write in the comments. And also, of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me know that you're interested in the channel and that I should put out more content similar to this. This has become a project I am very much interested in. I am definitely not abandoning my my wall mount PC case or my custom desk. Those are definitely plans that are going to happen in the future. I just need to set aside the money to do certain projects at certain times. So with that, I leave you with this. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. It really does help me. Till then, I'll see you guys in another video.